Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I am Munib Hamid with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the top stories first. Colombia says a former Haitian Justice Ministry official may have ordered the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. Police Chief General George Vargas says Joseph Felix Badio directed two former Colombian soldiers 3 days before the attack. Meanwhile, Haitian authorities say the slain president's funeral will take place on the 23rd of July. Beijing has strongly condemned United States sanctions on Chinese officials, saying it will firmly retaliate against American bullying. In a statement, Foreign Ministry's branch in Hong Kong said the U.S. move has seriously violated international law. Washington imposed curbs on 7 Chinese individuals over what it calls Beijing's crackdown on democracy in Hong Kong. Israeli forces have injured at least 75 Palestinians protesting against illegal Jewish settlements in the West Bank. The troops fired tear gas, rubber-coated bullets and live rounds on protesters in Nablus, Kafur, Kadum and Kalkilia. The Palestine Red Crescent says 10 people were wounded by live bullets while 15 by rubber bullets. Brazil has registered more than 1,400 daily deaths from COVID-19 and over 45,000 infections. In Pakistan, 39 people have died, while over 2,700 tested positive for the virus in the past 24 hours. While globally, the coronavirus has claimed more than 4 million lives and has infected over 189 million people so far. In Western Europe, at least 125 people have died and hundreds more are missing after some of the worst flooding in decades. Record rainfall caused rivers to burst their banks, devastating the region. The death toll in Germany now stands at 106, while 20 died in Belgium. Well, these were the top stories. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. Start from Colombia, which says a former Haitian Justice Ministry official may have ordered the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. The development follows a preliminary investigation involving Haitian and Colombian authorities alongside Interpol. Police say Joseph Felix Badio gave directions to two former Colombian soldiers 3 days before the attack. Police Chief General George Vargas said Badio also worked in the anti-corruption unit with the General Intelligence Service. Meanwhile, Colombia's Vice President and Foreign Minister Marta Lucía Ramirez said Bogota will send a consular mission to Haiti. Ramirez said they will meet with detained Colombians.
The instruction that has been given with the President of the Republic is to provide them with all the support so that they have legal assistance, to ensure that they are in adequate health conditions, that they are in a place of detention that is adequate, that life is protected, and the rights and guarantees that due process should have are also protected.
While the Haitian authorities say the slain president's funeral will take place on the 23rd of July. Now, Beijing has strongly condemned U.S. sanctions on Chinese officials, saying it will firmly retaliate against American bullying. Washington imposed curbs on 7 Chinese individuals over what it calls Beijing's crackdown on democracy in Hong Kong. In a statement, Foreign Ministry's branch in Hong Kong said the U.S. move has seriously violated international law. It called Washington's sanctions and updated business advisory extremely unreasonable. The office accused the United States of smearing Hong Kong's business environment and endangering China's national security. It urged Washington to immediately cease interference in Hong Kong and China's internal affairs. Israeli forces have injured at least 75 Palestinians protesting against the illegal Jewish settlements in the West Bank. The troops fired tear gas, rubber-coated bullets and live rounds on protesters in Nablus, Kfar Kadum and Kalkelia. The Palestine Red Crescent says 10 people were wounded by live bullets while 15 by rubber bullets. It said dozens of others suffered breathing difficulties due to inhaling the tear gas fired at the protesters. Meanwhile, Palestinian Foreign Ministry urged the United Nations Security Council to stop the Israeli ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. It said the conditions imposed by Israel forces undermine any chance of achieving peace on the basis of the two-state solution. Now, Brazil has registered more than 1,400 daily deaths from COVID-19 and over 45,000 infections. Globally, the coronavirus has claimed more than 4 million lives and has infected over 189 million people. More details about the pandemic in this report. Even with the aggressive vaccine rollouts in developed countries, the outbreaks are again emerging and spreading fast. U.S. public health chiefs have warned of an extraordinary surge as cases are rising in all 50 states. This comes as the World Health Organization proposed another study into virus origins in China, including audits of laboratories and markets in Wuhan. Meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Ministry said the country's experts are studying the draft proposed by the health body. However, it denied the lab leak theory as extremely unlikely.
China has taken note of the draft proposed by the WHO for origin study, which are being studied by Chinese experts. China's position on the issue of global origin tracing is consistent and clear. All parties should respect the opinions of scientists and scientific conclusions instead of politicizing the issue. The plan for the next phase of study should be led by member states and agreed upon through consultation.
In Europe, the fresh wave driven by the Delta variant continues to sweep the continent. Spain's two-week contagion rate rose to 537 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, while a new curfew is imposed in Catalonia. France reported more than 10,000 new cases again as the rapid spread of the Delta variant led to a jump in new infections. Over in Australia, disappointments have turned into despair as lockdowns have failed. Vaccine rollouts start to bite back. Meanwhile, leaders of the Asia-Pacific Trade Group pledged to expand sharing and manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccines to fight the pandemic.
Now, in that regard, 4 weeks ago, APEC trade ministers met together and agreed to remove any existing trade barriers and tariffs that exist for vaccines and consumables associated with the vaccine rollout. It may surprise you to know that vaccines can in some cases face tariffs of 6%. Vials and packaging, 20% in some cases. Syringes face tariffs. So it is a very real problem that APEC economies have the ability to remove.
Meanwhile, Thailand has imposed a nationwide ban on public gatherings and is considering more restrictions amid record cases. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the coronavirus has claimed 39 more lives in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the death toll has reached 22,760. The ministry said more than 2,700 people tested positive overnight. It said the caseload has crossed 986,000, out of which over 918,000 people have recovered. The ministry said there are over 45,000 active cases in the country. It noted more than 2,500 people are in critical condition. Now, in Western Europe, at least 125 people have died and hundreds more are missing after some of the worst flooding in decades. Record rainfall caused rivers to burst their banks, devastating the region. European leaders have blamed the extreme weather on climate change. Experts say global warming makes torrential rainfall more likely. The death toll in Germany now stands at 106, while 20 died in Belgium. Heavy rains also hit Switzerland and Luxembourg, while the Netherlands has declared a national disaster in one southern province. The United Nations says at least 75 children have been killed in Myanmar since February's military coup. A UN Rights Committee says it also received credible information about 1,000 children arbitrarily detained by the forces. In a report, it strongly condemned the killings that it said were carried out by the security forces and police. The committee said some victims were killed in their own homes. It also pointed to the military's practice of taking children hostage while they are unable to arrest their parents. Meanwhile, in a statement, the committee chair, Mikiko Otani, said children are under siege and facing catastrophic loss due to the coup. Moving on now, the US has restricted trade with 4 Russian information technology firms and 2 other entities of alleged malign activities. The US Commerce Department accused Moscow of spearheading such activities. In a statement, the department said the 6 entities operate in the technology sector that supports Russian intelligence services. Following the curbs, the US companies cannot sell to the entities without licenses that are likely to be denied. The Kremlin has denied the allegations. In April, Washington imposed broad sanctions on Russia to punish Moscow for alleged cyber attacks and interfering in US elections. Also, US President Joe Biden says the spread of COVID-19 misinformation on social media is killing people. Talking to reporters, Biden said the misinformation is holding people back from getting vaccinated. He said the only pandemic America now has is among the unvaccinated population. Meanwhile, Facebook says it will not be distracted by such accusations. Spokesperson Kevin McAllister said the facts show the Facebook is helping save lives. The White House has been increasing pressure on social media companies to tackle disinformation. Also in the US, 2 California men have been indicted on charges of conspiring to attack the Democratic Party headquarters in Sacramento. According to the indictment, the 2 started plotting to attack Democratic targets after the 2020 presidential election. It said they also reached out to anti-government groups to further their cause. The Justice Department said the pair discussed blowing up buildings. Federal law enforcement agents executed search warrants and seized numerous weapons and explosives at their homes. Now in Greece capital Athens has sweltered as the 3rd heatwave in a month sent the citizens to nearby beaches. The Acropolis briefly closed its gates to visitors during the hottest hours of the day. The temperatures have soared to 41 degrees Celsius in downtown Athens. Greece National Weather Service said the high temperatures will linger for another day. More news coming up after a short break. Stay with us. And now let's have a look at how the weather is doing around the world. Well, that is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.